Guess what came today? It's my brace for my power steering gear output shaft and frame stiffener. It's like a cross member or something to brace stuff up. UPS lady wasn't real happy about the weight. She's like, "Oh, it's heavier than 14 pounds. That's the declared weight on these critters. So anyway, pop it open and see what we've got. We'll probably do a little welding on it right off the bat too, just to make it easier to install and service in the future. It's one thing to bark and whine at the engineers that make things, it's another to get out your welder and make it how you like it. So here's the bearing. Probably ought to keep that, the UCFL 205-16, just so that I can get another one if I need to. Fortunately, it does have a grease zerk, so as long as I don't neglect it, it should work out pretty good. So what I'm going to do is, you got all of these nuts and bolts, and as far as your sway bar stuff, that's all piece of cake. You get rid of the lock washer for the pitman arm. You just take the nut off and take off your thing and throw it away, because there's not enough room for this. And this works every bit as good as a lock washer does. It's a lock nut is what it is. So you get rid of that washer, and then that gives you that many more threads to have this be able to work properly. It's one of the things I was wondering about, because there's only 2 or 3 threads sticking out. So you'll have 4 bolts for your sway bar stuff. It looks like they're all pretty much the same, but not quite. 2 of them are bigger and heavier duty. So, and then you've got all these washers and lock washers. So put the lock washers on first, and then the other one for your sway bar. Make yourself a set of 4 of those. All about bracing. This screws onto the output shaft of your steering gearbox, and then it fits into here, and it is a super tight fit. It is just like, you want to put some grease on that, tell you what. But it looks like there's a couple of little Allen screws in there that hold it on perfectly, but it just adds a bearing so that you have the proper support, so your steering gearbox doesn't get loose and create death wobble, the vicious DW on your Dodge or your Jeep. So the way you install this little critter is you take off the old nut and lock washer and use the new nut and lock washer that's provided, that you see there. And you can see that these lock washers aren't crushed. There's a little gap. Basically this can move still. You just hang it in place like that, and that's so that it can center properly here. The next thing you do is you tighten this down, and it will hit the little bevel in this new nut bar that comes with the kit, and basically it'll flex. This will bend down, and that just holds everything snug up there tight together. So, and we've loosened these 2 securing screws in there, and everything's just kind of thrown together for now. And the first thing you want to do is tighten the bearing into place. So as soon as I can get this camera in a winning position, we'll just go for it. Okay, so here's our bearing. It's the top of it is a 17 millimeter, the nut is, and the bottom one's a 16 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and zip those on. I decided against welding them because that way you can have more movement to make sure that it gets centered properly from the get-go. So that's in there nice and tight, top and bottom. You know, if any of these come loose, and there's going to be a lot of force on these, but if they come loose, then it's pretty much defeats the purpose of this thing. You can see I've got the grease zerk facing forward. The size for these is a 1/8 inch. See, this can move. You don't want it to wear between this bar and the bearing housing. You want the bearing to do the bearing of the load. So you'll tighten one in until it's just starting to snug up and then tighten the other and back and forth. Probably be a real good place to use some Loctite. But you basically don't want these to move at all on each other, or else it'll wear and get slopped there and defeat the purpose of this. Come on. Alright, so that's all in place and solid and done. So I'll switch over to a 17mm socket for the provided bolts and just go through and tighten all of this. And you want these good and snug so that it braces the frame properly, otherwise it'll flex and bark and jerk and whatnot. Alright, so there you have it. That's the installation. The hardest part of this whole deal is it's all really easy. The biggest mistakes I made is I tried to put the nut on top of this and have them act as a lock nut on each other instead of just replacing it all together. Another mistake that I made was not having these in place on the ground when I was juggling this. This weighs 14 pounds, this weighs probably 50 or 60, plus you have the bushings pushing on everything, so that added a little bit of wrestle factor to it. But just getting that in was a little bit of a bugger, but it was not very hard. And I like having this on there, it seems pretty heavy duty. So there you have it, that's how you install. Now what was the product name? I'll show you what the instructions look like too, because why not? Let's see. They call it steering stabilizer. It stabilizes your steering, but there's already a part called the steering stabilizer. That's a shock absorber that bolts onto your steering linkage to your axle. I forget what the name of this product was. It just says Dawn Timmer, Byron Center, Michigan. I forget what the name of it is. Maybe we'll go to the website real quick and see. Alright, Timputer. Should have staged this better. Boy, that's just taken a year to fire up. Not one of those stupid solid state hard drives. I don't like it very well. It likes to shut down all the time to save power or save itself, and it just winds up creating more hassle. It says Dodge Ram Steering Gear Box Stabilizer, and this is at DodgeRamSteeringStabilizer.com. So there's two different models. There's one that fits from 94 to 01. That's what I have is an 01. And then there's another, or 94 to 02, excuse me. And the other one's 03 to 08. But that's it. Big D Off-Road LLC. It's a guy in Michigan. Clever dude. I think he's a boon to humanity, because there's nothing fun about death wobble, and there's nothing fun about changing your power steering gearbox every year, you know, because of it getting play. This way it's supported well, and it also, you know, stiffens up the frame and gets the frame, you know, boxed in. So anyway, hope you like my video. If you can click subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. I don't do personal messages. I'm almost completely off personal messages. I like the comments because that way other people can get the information, and you know, it's faster for them, and then I don't have to answer the same thing over and over again, and it forces people to be concise. I like helping people out, but I hate reading novels of other people's problems. If I'm going to spend the time reading, it's going to be something amazing. So I like videos. That's why I make videos, is because videos are great that way. You can be doing something and listen to it, or you can watch it and get all the information from visual and audible. But anyway, that's just me. Thanks for watching.